So today I want to talk to you about preparing for my first leadership meeting for some time and why it's going to be incredibly important. So if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, or you work within a senior leadership team, this could be very, very relevant to you. So keep watching, keep listening. Welcome back to consecutive day 1696 of the Diary of a Runpreneur. Today's topic is all about leadership meetings and the structure of leadership meetings. And these are things that I've kind of taken from along my entrepreneurial journey, things I've learned that I can implement that will hopefully work really well for both me, but also for those watching. So, but before we get started, please don't forget this is part of a fundraiser of Saving the Lives of Children by attempting the ultimate ultramarathon of run vlogging on consecutive days, a distance of a lap of the world, barefoot style. So do give us some support. And more people we get in front of, more money we raise, more children's lives we save, which is why I do this every single day. So back to the topic at hand, leadership meetings. So as crazy as it sounds, but my business partner is completely polar opposite to me, which is a massive strength when you're partnering up with someone in business. If somebody's strengths are your weaknesses and your strengths are their weaknesses, it has the potential for a match made in heaven. However, the downside to it is that if you're as opposite as we are, potentially you could work in very different ways. I'm very systems-based, processes, data-driven, that side of things. He's very much big picture thinker, ideas, creations, business development. Not so good on the detail, not so good on the systems, not so good on the infrastructure side. So you think match made in heaven. But what's kind of happened over the years is that we've ultimately, he's focused on sales and marketing, I focused on operations, finance, HR, admin, business infrastructure, reporting, all that side of stuff. And we've kind of kept out of each other's ways. And do you know what? It's worked. It really has. However, we're now at a stage where we've got some really busy periods coming up, and we've now actually got some really good people within the team. And what we've decided is that we need to give people more empowerment as the team has grown. We need more and more people in kind of leadership positions. I think that's really, really important. And how do we get everyone pulling in the same direction? I'm just going to put my light on a second because it's incredibly dark. And so we've got our first scheduled meeting for tomorrow. Now there's a lot of preparation that's gone into this meeting because being the infrastructure guy, I've kind of appointed different people to be the departmental heads, and in certain instances where departments are fractured into a couple of sections, there may be 2 heads for each kind of section. So basically there's 8 people in this meeting, which might seem like a lot, but we're going to try and keep the meeting incredibly punchy. And what we're going to do is, I've already identified all the metrics that are going to be integral for each department, which form our kind of company scorecard. Now, there's probably somewhere in the region of between 20 and 24 metrics, which is probably too many. I'd like to keep it down to 15 if I can, so I may reduce this down over the course of time. But we're going to start with 20 to 24 metrics, which cover all of the important kind of elements of each area of the business. And the structure of the meeting is going to be kept really short and sweet. Basically, these are the metrics that each person is responsible for, and we'll be looking at each metric. Is it on target or better? Is it within 10% of target, so nearly on target? Or is it off target, which is less than 10% towards where it needs to be? And it'll be traffic coded, so red, amber and green. So this scorecard we'll be able to look at very easily and ascertain which ones are on track, which ones are nearly on track, and which ones are off track. Now the nearly on track and the on track ones we won't be paying much attention to because they're doing almost what they need to do. It'll be the red metrics that we apply our attention to. And as a leadership team, it won't be a case of, it's a very much a collaboration. Just because somebody's responsible for a metric doesn't mean that if it fails, it's solely their fault. It won't be at all. It's the business's fault. And as a leadership team, we need to identify what we can do to support one another who have got metrics that need lifting. And the business will simply be checking in on the metrics from each area. Right, there's an issue here. What are we going to do about it? And it might be that we take them off these kind of troubleshooting meetings offline and have separate meetings about, or it might be that we say, look, here's the plan, or the person responsible has a plan, this is what we're going to be doing. Everyone else says, okay, great, we'll review this again next week. And we'll try and keep it really punchy and short. So it's going to be probably between half an hour meeting when everything's going well, possibly up to an hour at the longest if we've got a lot of stuff to discuss regarding metrics that are off target. But the reality is everybody within the leadership team knows A, what the metrics are, and B, what the targets for those metrics are. And then they are empowered to take it upon themselves to work out the solution to getting their metrics to where they need to be. And that is key, because I was taught that the two things you should look for in leadership people or leadership team is, one, that they do not need managing. That's critically important. If you manage people, you smother them, they're not able to grow as people, use their initiative and grow. So they should never need to be managed. And two, they should constantly wow in terms of initiative taking, going the extra mile, doing what needs to do to improve the business and grow the business. That's what your leadership team should meet, those two criteria points. If they do that, then you're in for an absolute winner. So I will update you on how this goes tomorrow. Yeah, but it's the first one we've done. I've always done kind of meetings with 2 to 3 people max, small little silo groups. But we are now a fairly sizable business with a fairly large team, and the time has come to kind of take the leap of faith into more larger leadership meetings. But because they're larger, to avoid them dragging on and on and on, we need to ensure that they're very punchy and to the point, and hopefully management by numbers is going to allow us to do that. So the learnings from my diary today are that if you have a business and it's a growing business, you have multiple people in different departments, at some point you're going to have to have heads of departments. So even in the first instance, you might be the CEO. If you've got 4 people covering the main areas, sales, marketing, operations, finance, then you should be having leadership meetings from the off with those people responsible for those key metrics. As soon as you get to that stage, that is the time to bring leadership meetings to the table, to lead by numbers. The beauty of numbers is once people know A, what the numbers are, and B, what the targets are, people will be pulling in the same direction. If you just say, oh, this is our objective or our goal or whatever, and it's open to interpretation, metrics are generally pretty black and white. This is what we expect. And you've got the right people, they don't need to be managed, they take their initiative, they do things to improve the business, then you should see a positive trend in the direction your business is going, because everybody's pulling in the same direction. So anyway, I hope that's useful. Questions or comments, drop me a line. I'll respond to everyone. Do remember though, if you believe in my mission of saving the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultramarathon by run vlogging on consecutive days, distance of a lap of the world, barefoot style, do give this, subscribe, share, like and comment. More people we get in front of, more money we raise, more children's lives we save, which is why I do this every single day. Thank you as always, stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you again tomorrow.